hit with our family. So good that they keep on asking for it and keep on asking for it. So I thought I'd share it with you. It's not my recipe, it's a recipe from the allotment garden. I will put the link below to share that with you. I didn't follow it precisely because I didn't have all the ingredients, but it still worked out absolutely fine. And that's the beauty of the recipe, that you can do it with whatever you've got. The great thing about it is that the courgette, it doesn't matter what size, whether you've got one this size or this size. Obviously this is more like a marrow. The skin is going a bit hard now, but you can still peel that and use that. But the great thing is you can use both sizes and whatever other ingredients you've got. The recipes are chili jam, and you can then can that and freeze it or do whatever you like with it. Also pakoras, courgette pakoras, which we fried lightly, and they were delicious, and there was some left over. We froze them, and I'm going to make up another batch, but the recipe today is going to be the chili jam. So first thing you've got to do obviously is harvest your courgette. Then I'm going to give these all a wash and grate them, and then I'll take you to the next. Just preparing these. I'm not going to peel these, but I'm just, if there's any nasty bits, I'm just grating that out. So like bits like that, and these sort of hard bits where they've been, I'm assuming they've been in contact with something that's made the skin a bit rough, but to be fair, they're being cooked at quite a high temperature for quite a while, so it doesn't really make much difference. Okay, so the recipe calls for, it says 3 medium-sized courgettes. I used more, and it worked out really well still. So I've got 4, and these are large courgettes. So I'm just going to chop the ends off and grate them. I'm grating the skins on, as I said. May take a little while. Okay, so you need to put all the gratings into a large pan. I'm hoping this pan is going to be big enough. I'll have a look at it in a minute. It should be, because we're not boiling it like jam, so it won't splatter all over the place. Right, so that's your courgette. This is a large stock pot, and I've probably half filled it. Okay, so the next ingredients you need, chilies. Obviously it depends on how hot you like it. I've got 5 here. I'll have to see how hot that each of them are before I decide on. Last time I did 3, I think. I might put 4 because this is slightly more. And we also need a ginger. It's about a thumb-sized piece of ginger. Again, I did slightly more. I might use all of this depending, and that all needs, the chilies need to be finely chopped and put in the pot, and the ginger needs to be grated into the pot. So I will crack on with that. So I put the chilies in, seed and all.
think I'll put one more in there. So that's 4 so far. Okay. Now, I never know with ginger whether you have to peel it or not. Perhaps you can let me know if any of you peel it or whether you leave it as it is. I always peel it. But I'm not overly careful on this occasion. I do seem to be getting every last bit. I'll just grate that piece up. So I've got actually quite a lot of ginger, but I really love the taste of ginger. So I've got, that's about a thumb piece. So I've got about 3 thumb pieces here. These last few pieces I might just chop really small. Okay, and the recipe also calls, it actually calls for a whole bulb of garlic. I found that actually, I think I used about 3 or 4 cloves and found that was perfectly okay. So for this one today, I'll probably use about the same amount again, because that's all I've got left in the pantry. So what have I got? 1, 2, 3, yeah, about 4 cloves. Okay. Apologies if you can hear squealing in the background. The children are playing upstairs. It's a really funny day weather-wise. It's raining on and off. It's quite windy as well, and they've been sort of just playing around the house today. So I think we may need to get out shortly once this has been cooked and burn off some of that excess energy they all have. Now it did ask for it to be minced. I've not done this, but I've never ever grated garlic before. I'm going to give it a go today. Well, that works fine. I'm going to try this again. Ooh. Right. The recipe also calls for 1 tin of tomatoes. This is slightly more than what the recipe says. However, I am only going to use 1 tin of tomatoes, so I'll pop those in just a moment. You don't need to. So we've got the tomatoes. It also it says 9 fluid ounces of red wine vinegar. I never had red wine vinegar. I just used what I had in the cupboard. What have I got today? So today I've just got some ordinary distilled white vinegar, and I made sure it's 5% acidity. And I had a little bit left over of some rather expensive craft vinegar made from sugar kelp. I've just used that up, and I've actually, instead of 9 fluid ounces, I've got 14 because it's slightly more. So I've added the tomatoes in, now the vinegar and sugar. We need, how much sugar? About 2 pounds of sugar. About 2 pounds of sugar. I use a mix of white and brown, so this is just ordinary granulated sugar. I will use about 1.5 pounds of that, and then I've got some brown sugar because I think it works really well in this recipe. Okay, so that's basically all of it. That's about 2 pounds. So that all goes in. And then all you have to do, you pop it all in the pan. And pop it on the hob. You bring it to the boil, and then you cook it for about an hour until it sort of looks thickish and sort of looks right, looks jam-like. So let's take this over to the hob. So I don't want to put it on too high to start off with, because obviously I've got the sugar in there and I don't want to burn the sugar. So I'm just going to bring it slowly to the boil and allow that sugar to dissolve. Just try and get it all mixed together. Okay, so we'll pop the lid on and just slowly bring that to the boil, stirring it every now and then, and we'll come back in a little while. I'll get on with some cleaning up in the meantime. So as you can see, it's now starting to come to the boil, and those courgettes have released a lot of liquid already, so I can feel now that that sugar has dissolved. So all we have to do with this now, once it has come up to the boil, I can now turn it up a little. We'll bring it to the boil, and once it's to the boil, we'll turn it down to simmer it for about an hour. So this has been cooking now for about 10 or 15 minutes, and it's now liquidy and everything's sort of cooking down. So I will now leave this for about 30 to 45 minutes, and I'll come and check on it and give it a stir every now and then until it's the consistency that I like. I don't like a really, really thick jam. I do like mine slightly on the runny side, but we'll come back and have a look in a while. So I'm just going to pop the lid on. Actually, no, I won't put the lid on now because we want it to reduce. Whilst that's cooking, you can take time to prepare your jars. So just over here, I've just washed and sterilised these jars. I'm using a mixture of, I've got some Kilner jars. I think there's a ball jar as well. The Kilner, basically the same as the ball jars. It's just I think it's the UK version. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they operate in exactly the same way with a two-part lid. I've got two different types of jars. I've got just some reused jam jars here. These are the ones that I'm going to use immediately. I'll just keep these in the fridge and use these within the next couple of weeks. These four, I'm going to water bath can. I think I'm correct in thinking that you don't really need to water bath can it, because you've got the vinegar, which is 5% acidity, so that acts as a preservative anyway. Plus you've also got the sugar. But just to be on the safe side, I'm going to put these in a water bath canner for 15 minutes, just because I'd like to store this for the winter and I don't want it to go bad at all. But these ones are going to be for the fridge. If there's any left over, I'll stick it in a container to freeze it. So I've washed them in hot soapy water, and then they need sterilising. You can sterilise them in the dishwasher, as long as there's nothing else in the dishwasher, or you can water bath them in some boiling hot water to sterilise them, or even in the oven. You can do it that way. Okay, and the lids I've got here, I've just got them all washed and cleaned separately in here, ready to go. Right, I think this is about the consistency that we like now. It's, as you can see, it's still quite loose, but it does thicken in the jars, and leaving it loose means that you can add it onto pieces of fish or chicken, or whatever, you know. So this has actually taken slightly longer than I expected. I wonder if it's because it's a little bit more. It took about 1 hour and 15 minutes in the end. So I'm just going to turn this off and bring it over to fill my jars with. Okay, so I've got my jars. They've been sterilised. They are warm because obviously if I put boiling hot liquid into these jars and they're cold, they will crack. So I'm going to start filling the jars now. One of these tools, a little funnel, is really useful because otherwise it all slops all over the sides. Okay. So I'm just running a knife around just to make sure there's no air bubbles in there. Okay. And then I'm going to wipe the rims just to check there's no stickiness that will affect the seal. And now for the lids. Make sure I get the right ones. So just finger tight on here, don't over tighten them. Just bring this one. And there you have it. So there you have it, 6 jars of Courgette Chilli Jam. The 3 at the back I'm going to water bath can to preserve them for the winter use, and the 3 at the front, 2 of them we're going to just keep in the fridge, and this one is a gift for a friend. They will last for probably up to a month in the fridge, but it will probably only last a few days in this house. So yeah, I I hope you enjoyed following me with this recipe, and if you want to see any more like this, please follow me on Mum's Homestead. Thanks again, see you soon.